Hi, everybody. So, last week I noticed that my depression symptoms were creeping back, and I was getting so lost in editing videos that I wasn't taking care of myself. So, I was trying to think about what steps can I add as part of my mantra. So, I have pills, food, protein, and that's just a mantra I memorized. So, I don't have to worry about remembering anything. Part of having ADHD is you might have something called poor working memory. So, poor working memory is not, it's basically what you're remembering while you're using it, working memory. So, it's not short term memory and it's not long term memory. So, that feeling when you're in the middle of doing something and all of a sudden you're like, what was I doing? I do it all the time while I'm recording myself. I think that's why half the time I think I'm repeating myself and talking in circles, is because I'll be talking to the camera and then all of a sudden I won't remember. I'll get distracted and then I won't remember what I was just talking about. So, poor working memory plus that part in the morning where you're out of it, where you're not really awake yet, if you're not a morning person and you need your ADHD medicine to be able to think straight. There's something called scaffolding. So instead of expecting yourself to have good working memory and to remember things, if you don't, there's this thing called scaffolding. That's when you take little post-its, or you can use a calendar, you can use a planner, you can use a whiteboard, you can memorize a mantra like I do. So this is taking that problematic short-term memory, and instead of relying on something that you know you struggle with that's going to give you a hard time, instead of keep trying to force something to work that doesn't want to work, you take these memories you're trying to hold, you put them outside of yourself. Just take that out of the equation and think about what are the times that you tend to forget. And I forget to take my medication. So just now I woke up, I think I woke up at somewhere between 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that. And I went to go to the bathroom, like you do in the morning, and I came back down, sat down, and started watching videos. I have not gotten up and got my pills. Just realized, like, oh, pills, food, protein, didn't do that yet, haven't eaten yet. Have you eaten yet? Can you sit in one spot for 10 hours straight and not remember that you have to eat? Or you have to go to the bathroom, or you have to drink water because you have poor proprioception and poor interoception, and your body doesn't tell you when you need to go to the bathroom until you really have to go. There's just different tricks you can use to help yourself. And see, now I'm doing it. It's happening again. I'm like, oh, shoot, I just talked about 3 things. So guess what? I got to get my pills. But I was thinking about how I let certain things go. I was forgetting to shower. I was forgetting to eat. And honestly, I didn't care. Because think about it. When your depression creeps back up, if you have major depression or a form of any kind of mood disorder that you need to go to counseling or take medication for or anything like that, it's something you manage. It doesn't magically go away. Taking medication helps, but it's something you have to manage. And one of the symptoms that I forgot all about was hygiene. You forget to take care of yourself. So the symptoms that you have with ADHD, if you also have depression and you have poor working memory to begin with, depression, you having lower amounts of certain brain chemicals, it's going to make your ADHD symptoms worse. You're going to forget even more. And if you also have autism, you probably have poor interoception or poor interoception. We're all different. One of them is the sense that you're getting messages from your body that you're thirsty, or you have to pee, or you're tired, or you need to stand up because you've been sitting in one place too long and you're getting a And, all of those things, if you have poor interoception, you don't really get those messages, This is a neurological thing. Think about the reason why they call that neurodivergence is it has to do with neurology. It has to do with your nervous system and your brain. The messages aren't necessarily happening correctly. And proprioception is your sense of how close something is to you. So if you're constantly walking into things, go to open up a cabinet and your sense of how close to you is that you think it's a little bit farther, you might hit yourself in the head. And then you feel like a dummy. And you don't realize you're not a dummy. You have poor proprioception. You have a sense in your body that is like impaired or affected by being neurodivergent. So you mix in depression and your body's already not. And it's the weirdest freaking thing, right? I can take a shower and I get sensory issues with feeling. Like, I freak out after I get out of the shower and put my feet on the floor, even if I just vacuum and I can feel every little bit of dust. It's the worst. It's the worst. I hate it. It's almost like painful. The temperature of the water. So now you're forgetting to take care of yourself. If your depression is coming, then you don't even care, because the chemicals responsible for motivation and then feeling good and all of that stuff and having energy aren't there. It's like the perfect storm. So I was like, okay, I don't know how long this has been going on, and I don't know how many days I went without taking care of myself. I'd eat here and there, but that's a problem, right? So instead of beating myself up about it and feeling absolutely disgusting and like a horrible, disgusting human being, I did that, as I was editing the last video I posted. I was looking up about depression and self-care and hygiene. Now, I already know from different content creators on here that talk about hygiene and autism, and I believe it might be a thing for ADHD too. I don't know. For different reasons. Sensory issues is a huge part of it. The feeling like you get really cold when you get out of the shower, and nobody really likes those feelings, but if you have sensory sensitivities to begin with where things are just extra. So imagine if you have, hearing sensitivities, and they might think that you're just too sensitive. It's like, well, my wiring's a little different. The sensory information is either getting perceived by my brain as louder than something is, so then it's louder than it is. The sense with touch where certain textures, and they almost hurt. Imagine your sense, if you're neurotypical, imagine your senses being jacked up, like the volume. You listening to your favorite song and it's great. And sometimes you want to jack it up. But if you jack it up so high that it's killing your ears, you're not going to enjoy it, right? So maybe that's not a good, or like, something somebody might like a warm shower, feels like you are, getting burned. You can kind of start to try to imagine what that might feel like. So if you are having poor interoception and you're not getting the message from your body that you're uncomfortable, which I don't get. I want to learn about this. Because we have sensory issues, right? I don't quite understand it. But anyway, long story short, I was reflecting on this yesterday, and I'm like, I really have to automate this. So my mantra is just my way of remembering to go take my pills. And I just kind of thought it when I woke up, but then I don't even know why I came back in here. I'm going to go do that. But yeah, I decided to add another 3 things that I'm trying this week. So pills, food, protein is pretty much, I've been doing it for like a year. So it's now like ingrained in my head and I don't even have to think. And I know when to do it because when I wake up, I'm going, what am I doing? What am I doing? And it's just pills, food, protein. It's like my brain's automated system that says, hey, did you take your pills? And I go, oh, that means I have to shut everything else off until I go do that. Right? Which I'm going to do in a minute. So the next 3 things, I think this is why I stopped doing my planner. When I was using my planner, I had the next things listed down, but it became such a chore and I started to hate it. I'm like, this is just too much work. I'm sure I'll be fine. I don't need this. And maybe that was fine for a while, but now I've taken like little structures away. And now I'm getting into bad habits. And I guess apparently my depression was creeping up. So, what are my next 3 things? So, I'm picking 3 because that just works for me. I could just pick 1 or 2. I wouldn't pick more because usually with ADHD, you should just start with like 1 or 2 things because you'll overwhelm yourself and you might get demand avoidance. Like you're like, you feel like you're telling yourself what to do and it's triggered. Or you might get overwhelmed. So 2 to 3 works. And I was doing that before. I had the pill, soup, protein, and then it was like bed, dishes, trash. And it was just getting up and just picking up. Well, if I'm forgetting to shower and doing basic things to take care of myself, let's go back. If I'm starting to get depression, I need to start there. Because if I don't fix that, I'm not going to give a shit. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give a bleep about the pile of dishes or the pile of laundry. I mean, these are all external signs that your symptoms might be coming back. And it is work. It's work. And sometimes you feel like the guy constantly pushing the boulder up the hill and it never stops. But so you're not going to be able to manage everything, at least not in the beginning anyway. And it's hard for us to be consistent with anything. So if you just pick one thing, especially when you're first starting, if there was one thing that you wanted to pick to start and then each week build something, you could start that way. And it's frustrating in the beginning because you want to do more than just the dishes. You feel guilty you're not cleaning your whole house and doing all of that. But start small and then you gradually get used to. Your body will get used to doing more tasks. In the beginning, your ADHD brain's going to resist it, and you'll just be like, I'm going to do this. I'm a lazy blip, blip, blip. I can't do it anymore. And you'll try to do too much, and your body and your mind are not used to it, and they'll just rebel. And then the next day, you're like, you won't want to do it anymore. So start with between 1 to 3 things. I mean, you could try whatever you want. It's trial and error. We're all different. But for me, for some reason, it almost feels like a song or a game if I make it 3s. I don't know. It just tickles that little kid in me. You know, the one that likes to collect stickers and like shiny things and likes a star, you know, when I do a good job. So I don't know why. I don't know if it's like an echolalia thing. I don't know what it is. But instead of, and usually, you know, some days maybe that's all I can do. Maybe I'm so symptomatic that I'm useless all day. And I have to accept that. And then other days I can get more done. Well, if I know that I might only be able to get a couple things done, you really have to put the things that you start giving yourself as the first thing to do as the most important. If you were to take all of the things that are stressing you out, that you have just fallen so far behind, and then the depression, you feel bad about yourself. It's just like this snake eating its tail. It gets worse. It's a feedback loop. It just feeds on itself. Start with something small. It's horrible. I know. It makes me mad too. But yeah, so if I'm going back in depression, I'm not focusing on the dishes. I want to do them, but I might have to accept that it may, some of these days I'm not going to be able to do too many things on my list. So I got to do the most important ones first, just in case. So what fixes my depression? Or at least for me? Happy light, of course, drinking water, which I'm doing throughout the day. And I have a water bottle that helps me with that. And that works for me. Everything that I do, some of the stuff that works for me won't work for you. And some of the things that work for you may not work for me. We're all different, but you just keep having the courage to try something different. For me, this past year has been tough love in the huge lesson of changing my expectations. And I'll do a whole video on that because it's something that I didn't even realize that I was setting myself up for failure because my expectations on myself were higher than they should have been to start. And that's like somebody in their 50s or 60s suddenly deciding, hey, I used to run marathons when I was in my 20s. I'm just going to go do that. No. As embarrassing as it is, you might think that you should do that thing that you used to do when you were like 18 years old. Do you have an 18-year-old body? No. I don't have an 18-year-old body. I can't do what I did back then. Does it mean it's not possible? Not at all. But maybe it's going to take me a little time to get there. Even if I was in my 20s and my body was still young and I could still do all of these things, if you're not used to doing something and it's not in your habit, as much as you see, there's the expectation. This is what I'm talking about. What we think we can do is not the same as what we can do. And since it's invisible, you can't predict those things that are popping up that are going to interrupt you, going to screw you up. And it will happen and happen and happen. So when you're visualizing, you're like, oh, okay, I see myself getting the cereal. I see myself doing this and that. But you're kind of like role playing in your head and you're not thinking about, because the things that distract you, the things that go wrong, you can't predict that. You didn't expect it. You don't know what's going to happen. So I feel like my expectations are chronically off. So it's almost been this whole journey and trying to learn how to adjust my expectations. And you're not going to want to lower your expectations because your drill sergeant, if you're like me, is going to be like, that's it. I'm done. I'm doing this. And in your head, you think you should be able to just force it on yourself. Like you could just will it away. And you can try it. Maybe that'll work for you if you're higher functioning. If your symptoms aren't that bad, maybe that'll work. But for me, time and time again, that tends to backfire. Or if it works, it'll work for a short period of time. But my expectations are usually my wishes. And they're kind of aligned. I want to believe I can do something. Because I'm mad I can't. That's the hard part, right? So sometimes when you have to start over, and it seems to like go in waves. Like I'll have a period of time, maybe months where I'm doing okay, and then maybe something happens and I'm not doing okay. Well, if I'm starting to notice, oh, I'm not caring for myself, I wasn't thinking of them as important activities of daily living. And it's so funny because I was a nursing student. And that occurred to me yesterday morning. I'm like, oh my God, these are ADLs. So if you don't work in social work, if you don't work with people with disabilities or people with more severe autism or higher needs, that have struggle with doing daily tasks, or if you don't work with the elderly or the aging in a nursing home, or you don't work in a facility that does, physical or occupational therapy, You will not have heard of ADLs. That is short for activities of daily living. The activities of daily living may change depending on the population, the type of person that you're working with to help. But basically, we're thinking about a person who has an injury and chronic illness, a disability, or is getting older, and their daily functioning is impaired in some way. We don't think less of them. But if you've been getting into bad habits for so many years and you're so focused on doing things for other people, I mean, ADLs are for when we can't take care of ourselves. And the whole reason is that you're trying to help people with these. If they can't physically do it, you are going to assist them because you would want someone to help you. It's not fair. It's not someone's fault that they have a disability or an illness. It's good. I mean, if that's not who you are, that's fine. You'll find a different path in life. But that's the whole point, is you're not just caring for a person, physically caring for their health. You also want to help them be as independent as possible. And that's what people want. So these are vital things for being healthy. But it's funny how we don't think of ourselves. And when that happened, when I was like, oh my God, these are ADLs. These are basic tasks you need to do to be independent and healthy. And I couldn't be bothered. And I was like, oh my God. I always think of other people, because I'm so used to thinking of myself as an independent, able-bodied adult. Like, it's not even something that would enter my mind. But depression can impair you. It impairs your cognition. It doesn't just change your moods. And of course, at crisis level, you don't want to be here anymore. But I'm not talking at that. That's a different conversation. If you or someone and I know I say this a million times, but I cannot tell you, I haven't gotten to the point where I was fully wanting to unalive myself, but I was starting to. And I know how scary that is. And it's not the person. It's crazy, the chemicals in our brain that we take for granted that keep us awake, alert, motivated, decent mood. Your brain is your operating system. You rely on it every day to be able to do basic functions. And depression is something that I think we tend to have a stigma of still. We think we could do it if we want to. Just take the pill, just get on some medication, snap yourself, back into shape, pull yourself up on your bootstraps. But you're not thinking of it as an anatomy standpoint. You're not thinking about the chemicals that are off. So what things are going to get me back, as well as getting me to do those things? My happy light works for me. Walking 5 minutes a day, because I'm sedentary now. Like I said, once you start this, it's like this feedback loop. And making myself shower. I don't know how long I went without showering. I can't believe I'm even saying that. You asked me a year ago if I would ever talk about that. And I would be I am mortified. But the things that I was learning in the last couple days about how this isn't just a common symptom. It is very common. And when you start to learn about how the brain works and operates and why you're not doing those things and don't care and don't have energy, and realize, you know what, if your car engine was having problems, you would take it to a mechanic. If you had to do an oil change because the oil wasn't working as well, you would do that. So if you have a condition like depression, you have to manage it. It's kind of like if you have diabetes, you have to watch your sugar. You can't just take a pill and be done with it. I am not a mental health professional. What works for me may not work for you. So don't just go on what I say. Definitely find your own therapist. You deserve support. Find your own prescriber. You deserve support. You don't have to take a lot of medication if you want to try it. That's only if you want to try it, because it's your choice. But that's a conversation you will have with them. And what helps each person is different. But these are things that I need to do. So going back to the beginning of this conversation, was mantra pills, food, protein, which I'm still thinking about because now I am feeling hungry. I don't usually do this. I don't know how this happened where I got distracted. It's 11. Wow. So pills, food, protein, and it's light, walk, shower. Now the happy light I can put on while I'm eating. So it's kind of like for part of the first things. I won't even think about it, but so I can like in my mind check it off. But for some reason I like 3s. And so it's the happy light. And for me, I'm just starting with 5 minutes. And I'm just walking laps. And I did it yesterday. I'm like, just do these things. Just do these things. I didn't want to. And it's amazing how once you get out of the habit of doing things, it's like pulling teeth. You might, if you're like me, think you're going to go, oh, and you're going to get dopamine because you're going to get all excited and you're going to think of all these things you want to do and you're going to get a planner and you're going to put a whole bunch of things down and maybe not only realize the expectation might be way off, so you don't want to set yourself up for failure, but also might not remember how long or how difficult it was to build up to the routine that used to be easy for you. It didn't start off as easy for you. It was something that you built up to, only you don't know. You don't realize it. You don't remember. If you're like me. So, yeah. I'm like, I'm going to start small. And if I don't want to do it, then that's a problem. I want to make that so small that there's no way I can say no. Ridiculously small. Ridiculously small. And you know what? It worked. Just in that one day, because I turn on my happy light, usually it takes me a while for it to start working because I'll put it on for like 20 minutes a day. And I did just wash my hair last night. I think I didn't rinse out, I don't think I rinsed out the conditioner well enough. This is itchy, or maybe it's from the mousse. Yeah, I'm not even going to edit this. This became a half an hour. Oh my God. So, with that being said, I'm still doing pills, food, protein, because like I tell you, but it happens in my head. Like sometimes I'll say it out loud. If I find like my symptoms are so bad that I walk and then partially there, I see the laundry, I start doing that. And then I think about the dishes and I start doing that. Like that will happen. If you have to go like this, if you have to feel utterly ridiculous and say pills, whatever that first thing is until you go do it, that's what you have to do. And then as you start getting used to doing these things, they will become automatic again. But yeah, in the beginning, you're going to have, so there was the expectations. Bring your expectations way down. So make it like impossible for you to fail. It's frustrating. You can gradually bring it up. If you want to start high, if you think you can do a whole bunch, do it. But if you get to the point where the next day you realize you're like, I can't do this, oh my God, and you feel like a total failure, you're not a failure. You just perceived that you could do more just when you're starting than you actually can. And that hurts. That would trigger, before maybe about a year ago, that would trigger like rage in me. Rage. Because I would not accept that. I'd be like, there's no excuse for this. You used to be functional. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I am independent. I'm not allowing this stuff to happen. But that didn't change anything. Now you're just abusing yourself. So you'll be able to see as you go what works for you. And I don't know if I'm going to start doing the planner again. For if you just have autism and you don't have ADHD, this will be frustrating for you. And you will be like my mom and you won't understand. You'll be like, just do it. But if you imagine you're constantly being distracted, that's why you can't just do it. Everything is constantly stopping you. So do what you can, set up steps to set yourself up for success, and then gradually you'll get back there. It is super frustrating. It is, for me, I can't even tell you. It's beyond cringe. It's painful. It makes me mad. And on top of that, then you're battling your internal resistance, because that part of you, the ADHD part of you that doesn't want to do all this shit, it's going to go. So yeah. So you got a couple of these things swirling around that you may not be aware of that are ready to just sabotage you. Slowly over time, you will start to learn what things are where you may be sabotaging yourself because of expectations being off. So that's my word for today, is expectations. And my expectation is I'm going to go take my pills. A friendly reminder from your ADHD friend and your mental health friend: if you need to take medication for your mental health or your ADHD to feel better, please take this as a friendly reminder to pause the video, turn off your phone, go drink some water, go have your pills, and do what you need to do to take care of you. Sometimes the self-love is the work. No one wants to do work. But think of how much better you feel when you're on top of things. And you can do it. You just got to be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's hard. I know. I love you. Take care of you. Do the things. Start with one. For me, I'm turning on my happy light when I eat my breakfast. I'm walking around my house for 5 minutes and I'm jumping in the shower. Who cares if I wash my hair? Small. If you have to go get the freaking body wipes at the store, whatever you need to do to break it into small bits, if you have sensory issues, do that. And we'll talk soon. We'll talk soon. I'm going to do lives. I'm gearing up to start doing lives again because I can't be editing videos. I'm posting this as it is, and I'm sorry I'm stuttering and doing all kinds of stuff. But I love you guys. Take care of yourself, and I will see you later. Bye.